Hello everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to do a follow-up of the chart we posted about a week or so ago on the US dollar, Canadian dollar, to see how that market's unfolded since our last video a couple of weeks ago. But first, let's start with the risk disclaimer and remind you that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades were actually taken, they're just shown for illustration and training purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. Put another way, all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly accept, that losses can and will unfold. No matter what trading approach you do, there always will be losing trades. Right, this was the setup we looked at in our last video, where we had a US dollar, Canadian dollar on a 4-hourly chart. We had the higher time frame resistance coming in off the daily chart there, and that gave us a nice VS sell setup going down. But the setup we were looking at in particular in the last video was this TS4 W3 or Wave 3 trade setup. So here the large degree trend was down off this higher time frame resistance. The MTP trend was red, therefore we should be looking for sell setups. This is what we covered in the last video. Let's right mouse click over this red sell bar, do analysis, and this was the trade setup we were looking at the time. And I think where we left the video a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, this was the situation that the market hadn't reached its first projected target, which was the typical Wave 3 WPT. Remember, a W3 trade setup in MTPredictor is what we're anticipating is going to be a Wave 3 or a W3 trade setup. In other words, we're looking to trade the Wave 3 in a completed Elliott wave sequence. Why do we like this? Well, normally the Wave 3 is the strongest and longest in a completed 5-wave sequence, therefore represents the largest profit potential in relation to the smallest initial risk. So if we now turn trading mode off and we see what the market's done, as you can see, the market this morning has just come down and has just tagged that profit target there. Can you see that? So the trade has unfolded exactly as we anticipated and posted it in our last video, where a potential profit of approximately 7.5 times the initial risk was available at that particular level. So as you can see, it's turned out rather well. Not all trades turn out this well. As we said in the risk disclaimer at the start, there always will be losing trades, but the idea is that over time you keep the losses small. That's why we use position sizing. In this case, less than 2% of a sample $20,000 account, but you can set up different account sizes, so you can actually do the position sizing with, well, if you wanted a different percentage risk, or a smaller account, so again to control the losses. But the idea being is that over time you have trades that are large, not just large in dollars, but large in relation to the initial risk. So let's go back to our default account. So in this case here, the initial risk was under $400, and here the profit was just over $3,000. In other words, just over 7.5 times greater than the initial risk or losses. And that's why we like the W3 or Wave 3 trade setup, because it gets you in at the end of the Wave 2 or right at the start of the Wave 3 to look to trade the Wave 3, which is usually the strongest and longest in a completed 5-wave sequence. Remember, we use our unique isolation approach to Elliott wave analysis in MTPredictor, where we look to start our analysis at the higher time frame support or resistance, because we understand that markets are random half the time. Therefore, half the time Elliott wave counts just don't really work. That's why they invented alternate counts and all these other different complex waves and everything that tends to confuse things and end up in a right mess. So what we do is only look to use a Elliott wave count when the picture is clear, and we define the picture as being clear when the market makes a reversal off a higher time frame support and resistance area. So in other words, this is where we would have started the sequence, up at this daily DP resistance. The initial swing down there would be Wave 1. We then have an ABC correction into the Wave 2. We then look to trade the Wave 3 for a potential profit of 7.5 times the initial risk. So all in all, a good example of MTPredictor in action, this time on a 4x chart, on a 4-hourly chart of the US dollar and Canadian dollar. And as you can see, we've just reached the profit target there this morning. And that's why I thought it's important just to include this video, just to update you on the video we did a week or so ago, just to show you how that trade setup has now unfolded very nicely indeed.